Personal issues with families are always difficult, and it doesn't matter which family that is. But families that function well overall tend to find that easier to deal with in the long run.
At 73 years old, Princess Anne, the daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, made a quiet yet powerful confession that left royal insiders and watchers stunned. Known for her loyalty, hard work, and royal discipline, Anne has always avoided the drama and spotlight that follows other royals, but now, after decades of silence, she finally revealed something deeply personal, something that had weighed on her for years, and admitted she held strong dislike, even resentment, toward someone who she believed betrayed everything the royal family stood for. While she didn't name this person directly, the clues she gave and the royal history behind her words pointed clearly to someone who had challenged royal traditions and caused waves within the monarchy. That person, many believe, was Meghan Markle. This confession was unexpected. Princess Anne is usually known as the quiet worker, the one who gets the job done, attends the most events every year, and keeps royal values alive without much attention. From her teenage years, Anne dedicated herself to duty. At 18, she started performing official engagements, and by the time she turned 40, she had become one of the most hardworking royals in the family. While others, like her brothers or even Princess Diana, were seen on magazine covers and interviewed on TV, Anne stayed focused on her work supporting over 200 charities, traveling the world, and representing the crown with dignity. She has always believed that being a royal is not about fame or personal gain, but about service, sacrifice, and setting an example. So, when someone new entered the family and seemed to bring more attention, drama, and headlines than dedication, Anne found it hard to accept. Meghan Markle's entry into the royal family was seen by many as a breath of fresh air, especially by people around the world who believed the monarchy needed change. As a biracial woman from the United States and a successful actress, Meghan was different from anyone the royals had welcomed before. Her marriage to Prince Harry seemed like a modern fairy tale, but behind the scenes, it didn't take long for tension to grow, especially with Princess Anne. According to royal insiders, Anne warned Prince Harry early on, saying that Meghan might not be ready for the hard life of being a royal. Anne reportedly advised Meghan herself during one of their first meetings, telling her, "This isn't a role you play, it's a life you live. You have to be present every single day, not just when it suits you." Meghan, used to a life of acting and public relations, was caught off guard. The strict rules, formal traditions, and constant judgment from the public and press were far from what she expected. Anne saw this mismatch early on and quietly kept her distance. But her discomfort grew with time, especially after Meghan and Harry's 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, where they accused the royal family of racism and neglect. For Anne, this was a breaking point. She saw it not just as a personal attack on the family, but as a deep insult to the crown and institution she had served loyally for over 5 decades. Anne, like her father, Prince Philip, had never believed in airing private matters in public. She had faced her own hardships, including a near kidnapping, a divorce, and raising children under intense media scrutiny, yet she never publicly criticized the monarchy. Her view was simple: personal pain should never harm the institution. So when Harry and Meghan decided to leave their royal roles and speak out, Anne felt betrayed. It wasn't about jealousy, it was about principle. She believed that royal life wasn't meant to be easy, but it was a duty worth defending. Her loyalty came from a deep understanding that the monarchy stands for something bigger than individuals. And in her eyes, Meghan had not only misunderstood this, but had tried to bend royal life to fit her own world. Anne's dislike, or as she described it, the deepest loss of trust, came from this very difference in values. While she never named Meghan outright in her confession, those close to her say the tension between them had been growing since the very beginning. From the wedding, where Anne's cold expressions were noted by the media, to public events where the two barely interacted, the signs were there. And although Anne has clashed with other royals before, including Diana and Sarah Ferguson, situation felt more permanent. Because while Diana and Sarah had their own troubles with royal life, Anne believed they still respected it. Meghan, she felt, did not to understand why Princess Anne felt so strongly. We have to look at her history with other royals who also challenged the system. Princess Diana, for example, was loved by the public but had a very different approach to royal life. Diana was emotional, open, and connected with people in a warm way that hadn't been seen in royals before. She used the media to support important causes like AIDS awareness and landmine removal, which gained her huge admiration worldwide. But Anne found Diana's way a bit too modern. Anne valued silence, hard work, and tradition. She didn't like the media circus that followed Diana and worried it could harm the monarchy's image. Though Anne respected Diana's charity work, they didn't have much in common personally. When Anne was asked about Diana's popularity, she often remained quiet or kept her answers short. The media sometimes called her jealous or cold, But in reality, Anne just didn't believe in being emotional in public. She had grown up in a family where showing feelings wasn't encouraged. Duty always came first. Then came Sarah Ferguson, better known as Fergie, who married Prince Andrew. Sarah was friendly, fun-loving, and often made headlines for her relaxed behavior. Her carefree style didn't sit well within either. Anne believed Sarah lacked the seriousness required for royal life. When Sarah's personal problems, including debt and scandals, hit the newspapers, Anne saw them as proof that she wasn't suited for the royal family. Even when Sarah and Andrew divorced, the drama didn't stop. For Anne, these public mistakes were embarrassing for the monarchy. She once reportedly said, "We don't need reality show stars in the family, we need people who work." Despite all these past issues, Anne never spoke openly about them. That's what makes her recent confession about Meghan so surprising. It's rare for Anne to let her feelings show, even in private. Her decision to admit that someone had broken her trust and that the betrayal affected her deeply suggests just how hurt she was. And while she didn't go into full detail, palace sources claim she was referring to Meghan's behavior during her time as a working royal. Anne was especially upset about the Oprah interview. She felt it painted the royal family in an unfair light and stirred global anger without providing solutions. The racism accusations, in particular, shocked Anne, who has spent decades working with international charities, especially those focused on children in Africa and Asia. Some say she was hurt that her work and commitment were ignored while the entire family was portrayed as cold and It felt, to her, like a lifetime of service was being questioned by someone who had only been a royal for a short time. And also noticed how Meghan's complaints shifted focus away from the Queen, who was already dealing with health problems. At the time, she found it disrespectful that Meghan and Harry chose that moment to speak out. To Anne, timing and respect are everything in royal life. You don't speak out when the monarchy is at its most vulnerable. You stay quiet, you support, and you do your job. That's how she was raised. That's what she's lived by. It's this clash of beliefs, duty versus individuality, silence versus publicity, that likely created the strong feelings Anne has now revealed. Some might see it as bitterness, but others view it as loyalty. Anne sees the monarchy as her life's work, something she has sacrificed much for. Her opinion of Meghan isn't based on race or background, it's about values. And Anne believes being royal is about service, not self-expression. And when that principle is broken, it's hard to forgive. Many royal watchers agree that Anne's comments weren't meant to stir more controversy. In fact, her quiet way of revealing her feelings shows how deeply she was affected. She didn't go on TV. She didn't release a public statement. Instead, she spoke to close friends and trusted reporters in a private setting. One royal correspondent noted, "When Princess Anne says something, it's not out of anger. It's because it's true and it matters." This makes her words even more powerful. While other royals have been known for their drama or outbursts, Anne's confession comes after years of silence, and that silence gives her words weight. Her admission might not change how the public sees Meghan, but it does offer insight into how the royal family truly works behind closed doors. Now that Princess Anne has spoken, even if just a little, many people are starting to look at royal events with fresh eyes. The distance between Anne and Meghan was always visible during public events, but now we understand why. Their body language, lack of eye contact, and polite but distant smiles all pointed to a hidden tension. During Harry and Meghan's wedding, Anne kept a straight face while most of the other royals smiled for the cameras. At Prince Philip's funeral, her expressions again showed discomfort when talking about Meghan and Harry's choices. For years, people thought she was just being formal, but it turns out there was something deeper going on. Even behind palace walls, things were not always smooth. Anne reportedly tried to advise Meghan several times, encouraging her to understand the weight of her role. She didn't offer harsh words, but simple truths learned through decades of personal sacrifice. Meghan, however, didn't always take this advice well. Some insiders say she felt judged and misunderstood. This created more distance, not only between Anne and Meghan, but between different parts of the royal family as a whole. After Meghan and Harry stepped down as senior royals, Anne's schedule remained as full as ever, while others made headlines. She kept doing the work quietly, respectfully, and without fuss. This only deepened the contrast between them. Some media outlets began comparing Meghan's interviews to Anne's actions. One spoke loudly, the other worked quietly. One sought change, the other upheld tradition. It's this contrast that defines their relationship. Anne's confession also reveals a lot about how change affects the royal family. Change isn't always welcome, especially when it comes too fast or too loudly. Anne doesn't hate change, but she believes it must be handled with care, respect, and understanding of history. Meghan's fast entrance, high-profile activism, and global interviews shook that balance. And for someone like Anne, who has spent a lifetime holding the royal structure together, that shakeup felt like betrayal. Still, Anne's story isn't just about dislike. It's about values, loyalty, and legacy. Her life has been filled with quiet victories, Nobel Peace Prize nominations, hundreds of charity events, and a reputation as the hardest working royal. She never expected thanks. She just wanted to serve. Her disappointment in Meghan isn't personal, it's professional. It's about seeing someone not respect something you've protected your whole life. As Anne grows older, she seems more reflective. She knows the monarchy will change. New faces will come in, and old traditions may be rewritten. But she hopes that future royals will still carry the values she lived by: dedication, service, and quiet strength. Her confession is a message to the next generation. Being royal is not about fame, it's about responsibility. Whether people agree with her or not, one thing is clear: Princess Anne has finally broken her silence. And in doing so, she has shown that even the most silent royals have stories to tell. Stories of pride, pain, duty, and disappointment. In a world where headlines come and go, Anne's message will stay: never forget what it means to serve. So, as the monarchy faces new challenges, Anne's voice stands as a reminder that the foundation of royalty is built on more than titles. It's built on sacrifice. And when that sacrifice is ignored or disrespected, the hurt runs deep. What do you think? Was Princess Anne too harsh? Or was she simply being honest about the values she holds dear? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Even after all these years, Princess Anne remains a symbol of strength, consistency, and unshakable commitment to her royal role. Her recent confession about the one person she could never forgive has stirred conversations around the world. Some people were shocked. Others weren't surprised at all. But what everyone agrees on is that Anne's voice carries weight, not just because of her royal blood, but because of her actions over the decades. She has earned the respect that comes from walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And now, by opening up, if only briefly, about her true feelings, Anne has done something very rare in royal circles. She's peeled back the curtain just enough to show us that even the most composed royals feel deeply. They hurt, they care, and yes, they struggle with family dynamics just like anyone else. Her honesty reminds us that being royal doesn't mean being unfeeling. It means carrying those feelings quietly, with dignity, for the sake of a bigger purpose. Many have asked if Anne will ever fully forgive Meghan Markle, or if there's a chance their relationship could be repaired. The truth is, no one knows. Anne is not the type to hold public grudges, nor is she likely to engage in dramatic gestures of reconciliation. If peace comes, it will come through quiet understanding and earned respect, not through headlines or press statements. That's always been her way. In the bigger picture, Anne's story shines a light on the internal pressures the royal family faces every day. They live in the public eye, under a microscope, with every word and action picked apart by the media. In such a world, it's easy to misunderstand motives or misjudge personalities. But Anne's message is clear: being royal isn't a role you play when it's convenient. It's a full-time, lifelong commitment that demands sacrifice, not stardom. That's why her disapproval of Meghan wasn't rooted in jealousy or resentment. It was disappointment. Anne felt the institution she dedicated her life to was not being respected. And in her eyes, when someone doesn't honor that commitment, it's not just a personal letdown, it's an insult to everything the monarchy represents. In a time when the monarchy faces questions about its future and relevance, voices like Anne's remind us of its roots. She represents the old guard, the foundation upon which modern royals build. Her voice, though not loud, carries deep wisdom. It tells us that service still matters, that honor still matters, and that not every story has a happy ending, but all stories have lessons. As she continues her duties into her 70s, Princess Anne's legacy is already clear. She may never wear the crown, but she's the beating heart of the monarchy, and her truth, finally spoken, will echo far beyond the palace walls.